on to our third presentation today. And our final speaker in this session is Tabassum Ansari. And my apologies if the pronunciation was not correct. And Tabassum is a scholar pursuing a PhD in chemistry of forest products at the Forest Research Institute in India. And her work explores techniques in cellulose and paper science. And she's using a really novel and innovative approach to use both agriculture and forest waste in the paper making industry as a strength additive. So it sounds like some really exciting new work that she's working on. And the title of her talk will be Synthesis of Cationized Cellulose from Pine Needles and its applications in paper making. So we'll now turn it over to Tabassum for about the next 20 minutes or so for her talk. Thank you.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Tabassum Ansari, and I am grateful to World Wood Symposium team and their honorable members for providing me this opportunity to present my research in such a big platform. And now I am going to present my research on this topic of synthesis of cationized cellulose from pine needles and application in paper making. Here are the contents of my research, which are as follows. So as we all know, paper is one of the essential commodities, and paper industry forms the core sector of our country's economy. The uses and applications are virtually limitless. According to Economic Times 2018-19, paper demand will see an overall increase in India across sectors like education, fast-moving consumer goods, and healthcare. Here is the overview of Indian paper industry. As you can see in the first table, there are 813 mills of paper in India. Out of that, 31 mills are wood-based, 135 are agro-based, and 647 are recycled fiber-based. The production of agro-based mills is very low, that is only 10%. Coming to the next table, you can see the variety-wise production and consumption of paper in India. Here also there is a gap between the production and consumption. So cellulose is extensively used as a raw material by the paper industry. Cellulose is the most abundant renewable biopolymer on earth. It is a linear homopolymer of D and hydroglucose units. These units are linked together by beta-1,4 glycosidic bonds formed between C1 and C4 adjacent glucose moieties. However, cellulose can be chemically altered to make value-added products such as carboxymethyl cellulose, methyl cellulose, ethyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl cellulose, and many more. So coming to the next slide, that is why we are so much focused about cellulose derivatives. Because modified cellulose-based additives can be established as the eco-friendly substitute for synthetic products with enhanced embattled properties. This is because modified cellulose can become a part of pulp fibers and can be easily mixed with a fibrous system for the development of homogeneous paper network. Other commonly available strength additives do not possess this property and leads to a more heterogeneous system, which is responsible for the decrease in strength. So compared with conventional aids, modified cellulose-based additives will also be more effective in improving retention, drainage, neutralizing anionic trash, reducing white water load, as well as is also biodegradation. So there is a huge gap for the research and development of bio-based, non-toxic, environmental friendly and stable strength additives. Preparation and application of polymer materials based on plant raw materials always attracts increased attention in view of today's environmental problems. The reason is that plant raw materials have renewable resource base and that plant polymers can be easily processed and biodegraded after the use. So, the raw material we chose for the following study is Pinus roxburghi silk needles. It comes into the family of Pinaceae and it is native to the Himalayas, found in abundance at low-medium altitudes, that is 500 to 2000 meters. It is widely planted for timber and occasionally as an ornamental tree. The tree is also tapped commercially for its resin. When distilled, the resin yields an essential oil known as turpentine oil and non-volatile rosin. Cheerpine rosin is primarily used in paper, soap, cosmetics, paints, and rubber industries. So, extensive research has been carried out by various research groups on Pinus roxburghi needles, but here I have only mentioned those references which is mainly be focused on its application in pulp and paper and in developing of bio-based packaging material. Recently, in Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, a study has been carried out on pine needles by Dr. P.K. Gupta on utilization of pine needles for preparation of sheets for application as internal packaging material. So, if I talk about what is the need of this study, so there is a need for this study because pine needles is a difficult forest waste as they decompose very slowly. It takes more than a year for 10% of the pine needles to decay because the leaf surface is covered with a cuticular wax which makes it highly inflammable. So as a result, pine needles continue to build up until they are eliminated by fire. They cannot serve as a fodder. However, this may be a good source of cellulose. Furthermore, pine needles acts like a carpet on the forest floor and blocks the sunshine reaching the ground, stopping the growth of grasses which the cattle feed upon. So every year, forest fire causes a great loss to the forest ecosystem, diversity of flora and fauna and economic wealth. So this is the importance of the proposed study. Firstly, utilization of Pinus roxburghi needles, which is treated as a waste biomass. It may be helpful to make this underutilized mass as a new source of cellulose. It will also help to reduce the accumulation of combustible material on the forest floor. Secondly, strength is one of the most important characteristics of paper from the standpoint of both end-use characteristics and manufacturing efficiency. So this study would evaluate the potential of pine needles for its utilization as an alternative raw material in cellulose functionalization and application as a strength additives. So there is a need for new products that are more biodegradable, more compatible with the ecologies of all the areas of environment. Thus, with an aim to utilize this waste biomass and to explore new sources of strength additives in paper making, proposed objectives of the research have been designed, that is chemical functionalization of Pinus roxburghi needles and application of chemically functionalized alpha cellulose as a strength additive in paper making. So this is the methodology of cationization. As an important cellulose derivative, cationic cellulose is widely applied in various fields such as paper making, cosmetics, adsorbents and antibacterial agents. So two steps are required to produce cationized cellulose. As you can see here in the first step, I have mentioned extracted cellulose reacts with an alkali to produce alkylated or alkalized cellulose. And in the second step, alkalized cellulose reacts with an etherifying reagent, that is 3-chloro-2-hydroxypropyl trimethyl ammonium chloride, that is CHP-TAC, to form a cationized cellulose. So coming to the results and discussion, these are the results of optimized conditions of cationized product with respect to DS by changing different parameters and keeping others constant. So these are the results. As you can see here in the graphs, the maximum DS with respect to alkalization time we have achieved in 8 minutes. If we talk about the alkalization temperature, the maximum DS we have achieved at 30 degrees Celsius, and likewise the concentration of alkali was 2.5 molar per anhydroglucose units. So these are the optimized results of this cationization reaction. So as you can see in this slide also, the degree of substitution, DS is the degree of substitution, and the maximum degree of substitution we have achieved with these above conditions. So after derivatization and optimization, pulping of bagasse was carried out. After washing the pulp, hand sheet was prepared by the addition of prepared additive and without additive. Then assessment of the physical strength properties was achieved. So these are the results which we have determined with respect to tear index, tensile index and burst index. So I want to conclude that the present study has shown that pine needles can serve as a precursor for the production of cationic cellulose and also work as an alternative to various abrasive additives used in paper industry. So it can be concluded that alpha cellulose can be isolated from Pinus roxburghi sag needles and can be converted into cationic cellulose or any other modified cellulose for a variety of applications from this difficult waste for its value addition into products of commercial importance. Thank you. Thank you for your kind attention.
Very good. And thank you, Tabassum, for a great presentation. We're getting back ahead of schedule, so we have plenty of time for a few questions. If you have questions for Tabassum, please feel free to either chat, message, or a voice speak up and ask Tabassum a question. And in the meantime, I will check the chat and we'll see if there's anything. Don't see any messages right now. So I have one question, Tabassum, if you can hear me. You mentioned the one of the important benefits in your new process is that by more fully utilizing the pine needles, you can reduce wildfire risk. And I was wondering if you'd like to comment a bit more on how wildfire risk can be mitigated through your work and also in the context of climate change, if that's something that's becoming increasingly important in India.
We are more focused on its application for paper industry only, because preparation and applications of polymer materials based on plant raw materials always attracts increased attention. So in view of today's environmental problems.
Okay, I think that was a great answer. And if I'll just mention that if there are any other questions from our audience, please feel free to either chat or speak, ask directly. And I guess I have one more question while we're waiting, Dr. Tabassum, and that would be, I'm used to seeing pine needles, and it's called pine straw sometimes, in the southeastern United States. And in addition, what they, I believe, marketed for a variety of products, including landscaping and other products. I was just wondering, in India, are there other markets for the pine straw and pine needles other than for use in pulp and paper making? Is it commonly used for any other types of products that could help develop this market? And
Actually,
just wondering your thoughts on that.
yes, recently in Forest Research Institute, Dehradun, a study has been carried out on pine needles, which is based on the utilization of pine needles as a packaging material. Also, we have worked upon pine needles for the handsheets making. But this is the first report which on which I have worked on its cationizing product. So I must say that this is the first product. This is the first report.
Great. So we'll just ask one last time if there's any other questions from the audience. And I'm checking the chat message. I don't see any questions coming through on chat. So we're right on schedule. I'll just say, Dr. Ansari, I hope, well, it looks like you're working on your PhD, so best wishes on completing your
Thank you so much.
Work in India, and thank you for a really excellent presentation. So at this time, I would like to, we have about 10 minutes left, and we have time for some closing comments. And maybe what I should do is say, if you, to all of our audience, if you have any questions for any of the three speakers, you can try asking now, or feel free to stay in touch with them after the conference. So why don't we give another big virtual hand clap and a tip of the hat to our three speakers. Now, thank you all very much. And I'll just mention that and we actually heard some actual applause in addition to virtual. So thank you for that, whoever was clapping. And we heard some really outstanding talks today about the importance of wood products in the value chain, the forestry value chain. And I'd just like to add on to that, it seems like our decision makers are really starting to recognize the importance of harvested wood products in sequestering carbon over long time frames. And so this can be in a range of products ranging from the nanoscale, some really innovative work being done there, and all the way up to mass timber and housing. We heard Ben talk about the idea of having a forest house, where cities are now seeing a more green appearance with lots more sequestered wood products. We also heard about the importance of how forests can provide a variety of benefits or ecosystem services. It's not just simply about wood. There are lots of other values that forests can provide: water, air benefits, and many other services that can be provided. But currently, a lot of these benefits are not being monetized and paid for, and that could be really an important trend in the future, to see more of our ecosystem services being developed into real markets. We also heard about the importance of community values and local involvement from all of our presentations, and the importance of local stakeholder involvement, whether that would be producing wood products from tropical species, or other forest management activities in Southeast Asia. Local involvement is very important in the value chain of wood products. So moving forward, I just would like to share a few observations that I noticed from all three of our speakers on what the future might hold. And one really important topic seems to be the idea of innovation, innovating new products and new markets, new ways of thinking about things. For example, whether that would be pine needles for paper making, thinking about a new product, or even innovation in terms of how products can be made without advanced machinery. We saw an example of a human-powered turning lathe in Central America, and innovation can really occur in any scale for any product. So I thought that was an interesting part of today's session. Let's see. We also learned that the forest value chain is really something that can be very complex. It has many steps to it, from the forest to transportation to processing to transportation to markets to the consumers. It's a very complicated process, and there are many stakeholders involved. And one of the things that will be very important moving forward is to get the input of all stakeholders in the full forest value supply chain. We also learned about the importance of social benefits, economic benefits, and environmental benefits. I believe that's often called the triple bottom line idea for valuing the forest value chain. As far as moving forward for research needs, I think one area that will be very important is for the research community to accurately quantify the benefits of harvested wood products in use and throughout the value chain. And there's lots of great work being done in life cycle assessment here in the US and elsewhere in the forestry research communities on quantifying these carbon benefits of getting the wood from the forest to the mill to the market, and substituting wood for other products such as steel and concrete perhaps, and really quantifying all of these benefits of carbon benefits and sustainability benefits. So I'd like to conclude with that. Moderators, or actually session organizers, I hope we're on time. We're a few minutes ahead of schedule. And I would just like to thank all of those who are listening for participating in topic 5 of the 2021 World Wood Day Symposium on the Forest Products Culture Colloquium. And I would like to encourage you to please stay in touch with our speakers by message, email, or others. And hopefully before too long, we'll all be back together in an in-person conference instead of virtual. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks. Again, my name is Dave Nichols. I'm with the U.S. Forest Service Pacific Northwest Research Station based in Alaska. And I'll turn it back over to the conference organizers. Thank you.